The single best performing stock in the entire S&P 500 this year isn't Nvidia. It isn't Palantir. It's a memory company most people forgot existed, up more than 4,000% since it went public on its own. And it just dropped 13% in a single day. Both of those are the story. It's called SanDisk. If you've ever used an SD card, a USB stick, or an SSD, you've held their product in your hand. For years it was buried inside Western Digital, until February 2025, when it was spun back out as its own company under the ticker SNDK. And then it went vertical. More than 500% this year alone, more than 4,000% since the spin-off, an all-time high near $12,350 a share, and just days ago Citigroup raised its price target to $12,500. On paper, it's one of the greatest stock rallies in America. But here's the catch, a number that big can hide as much as it shows. So tonight, I'll walk you through why SanDisk actually ran, and that part is real, the part of that 4,000% that's basically an illusion, and why the cleanest AI memory story on Wall Street might also carry the single most dangerous price. Let's start with the bull case because it's legitimate. SanDisk makes NAND flash, the memory inside SSDs and storage, and the world just ran out of it. We are in a memory shortage so severe that suppliers are getting less than half the wafer capacity they ask for, and prices have been climbing double digits quarter after quarter. SanDisk's own management said NAND supply and demand are, quote, very tight with no line of sight to balance. Their latest quarter did almost $6 billion in revenue. And the deeper driver is AI. As AI models get bigger, the data they need to keep on hand has outgrown what expensive DRAM can hold, so that data is spilling down into cheaper flash. Flash is being promoted from cold storage into active, high-speed memory. That is a genuine structural shift in demand, and SanDisk is the purest way to own it. So, before the bear case, ask yourself this. When a forgotten storage company suddenly does $6 billion a quarter with no supply in sight, is that a new era or the top of one? If you've followed this channel, this is the third piece of a puzzle. First, AMD bought a company called Mext, whose whole job is making cheap flash behave like fast DRAM, which structurally pulls flash up the memory ladder. Then Micron showed us the DRAM and high bandwidth memory side is sold out through 2026. SanDisk is the missing third corner, the pure-play NAND flash maker that wins when flash becomes a first-class citizen in the AI data center. So, this isn't a random hot stock. It sits at the exact center of the memory shift the whole AI build-out now depends on. That's why Wall Street fell in love with it. And that's also exactly why you have to be careful. Because love at this altitude is where mistakes get made. Here's the part of the people pumping this stock skip. That 4,000% number is real, but it's also misleading. And you need to understand why. SanDisk only started trading on its own in February 2025. It came public as a beaten-down, forgotten spin-off at a very low starting price, right as the single biggest demand wave in memory history hit. So you're measuring a parabolic percentage off a deliberately low base at the most perfect possible moment. A lot of that 4,000% isn't proof that SanDisk is a once-in-a-generation business. It's a re-rating, the market repricing a cheap spin-off into an AI darling all at once. That's a very different thing from a company that compounds 4,000% on its own merits. Mistake the two and you'll extrapolate a one-time repricing into a forever trend, which is exactly how people buy the top. And then there's the oldest trap in this sector. Memory is brutally cyclical. It has boomed and busted over and over for 40 years, and the cycle always works the same way. A shortage sends prices up. The high prices pull in new capacity. The new capacity becomes a glut, and prices collapse. The very shortage that's making SanDisk look unstoppable today is the thing that plants the seeds of the next downturn. And NAND, historically, is even more commodity-like and more cyclical than the high-bandwidth memory Micron cells. So when you pay up for a pure-play NAND company after a 4,000% run, you are buying peak pricing power and assuming it lasts. How fragile is that? Look at the tape. SanDisk just fell more than 13% in a single session, its worst day since the spin-off, and followed it with another 7% drop on nothing more than a sentiment shift in Korean memory stocks. That is not the behavior of a stable compounder. That's a crowded momentum trade that unwinds violently when the mood turns. Let's put it together, honestly. The demand is real. The shortage is real. SanDisk is genuinely the cleanest pure play on the AI flash shift, and even after the pullback, Citi sees more upside to $12,500. All true. And it's a deeply cyclical commodity stock, sitting near an all-time high, up thousands of percent off a low spin-off base that can drop 20% in 2 sessions on a headline. Also true. The mistake almost everyone makes is forcing this into one answer. SanDisk can be the best story in memory and the most dangerous price on your screen at the same time. The real question was never whether SanDisk is a good company. It clearly is. The question is whether, at this level, you're buying the business, or you're buying a shortage at the exact moment everyone else already has. So here's the debate I want you in on. The bulls say this is a structural new era. Flash is becoming core AI memory, and SanDisk is the purest way to own it. The bears say it's the same memory cycle that has wrecked investors for 40 years, dressed up in an AI costume and priced for perfection. Here's my question for you. Does knowing that most of the 4,000% came off a low spin-off base change how you'd touch SNDK here? New paradigm or classic cycle top? Tell me in the comments, because I read them. And if this gave you both sides instead of just the hype, subscribe. This channel breaks down one company at a time. No hype, no noise. I'll see you in the next one.